there anything
Yes,
before we start, is there anything we're not allowed to say, or because I know like we try to avoid cursing just for the
Oh, I don't care about cursing.
okay.
I guess there's people I don't want to talk about. You know, we should like if I was talking to you off the air, I'd probably ask you how you feel about certain people.
Right. Right. We try to on the show avoid politics, you know,
Yeah,
unless it's a topic that is really at the heart of it, then you know sometimes we have to bring it in.
But if you stop recording, we'll be happy to talk about whomever. Just kidding.
Are you surprised at how political it's gotten? I'll just start with
oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. I don't remember a time in my life that things were so political. And you know, I'm 55
and uncomfortably
political. And I mean, I was born during the Vietnam War, but I don't remember that. But you know, I asked my in-laws, was it this bad? And they're like, no, I think it's worse now. I think it's worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this menopause space, it seems to be seeping in to it.
Yes. There's a clear divide, I think, between people who are, instead of just educating yourself on everything and making a personal choice, they're either going holistically or the medical route. And it's like they're somehow condemning the other one, when at this age, we should just be able to make our own decision.
Yeah.
Like if that's what you mean, then yes, we see a definite divide in that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's always my argument. That's my whole thing is like, I've always bridged that whole, it's all there for us. And when you say at this age, we're able to make a decision, but what you see over and over is like people saying, oh, they're not able to make a decision. They're going to be so confused. And I get that it's confusing. But at this age.
Right. Well, and also at this age, when you go, you know, depending on where you live, when you try to seek any kind of advice from a professional in the field, from a clinician, it just depends on where you're going. It just depends, because so many clinicians haven't been trained. And it's almost like I don't want to fault the clinicians because of the time that they have. They, you know, especially if you're at a place where it's boom, 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 you have 15 minutes with that physician and you have to get out. So that's one reason we're starting to speak to other physicians that have started their own path. Some are concierge, which is difficult because if you have insurance, it's expensive. But then some are working the route to really try to include insurance, and it's still hard. You know, it's not easy for them. So that's kind of what you run into too. You know, I read a lot about different women, especially in Great Britain, where they're running into issues where they're trying, if they want to seek hormone replacement, and they're running into issues with getting that, or just things available that are non-hormonal. So it's really hard, but it has gotten political as well, because there's the camps that, you know, go against each other with that.
Yeah. I saw the other day someone in Britain, because in Britain, anything that's against sort of the narrative, because the narrative is hormone therapy, right? And I have no problem with hormone therapy. I've been trying to get it. I can't get it here. And I'm ironing some stuff out, but I actually saw, so it's the Daily Mail, which everyone hates, that's doing sort of, I think, balanced journalism. Like I felt like I was crazy a couple of years ago, because I was like, is it just me, or is the Daily Mail actually doing some good journalism on this space? Yes, because they're contrarian. So they're doing like, they just had a piece that everyone freaked out about. And I saw someone share it and say, conservative women, like it's now seen as a conservative opinion to question HRT. And I thought, what?
Wow.
Like how
It's a personal, it's a personal question, not a political question.
But it's very strange how it's invading that space. It is so strange. You know.
Okay, we have so much to talk about. So this is an exciting Hot Flashes Clearfluster meeting. And I like, you guys use Hot Flashes in the way, and I do kind of like, it's just like, this is the center of all of it, but it doesn't mean we're just talking about menopause.
Exactly.
We're talking about everything, right? So, okay. So how and when and why did you guys get started? You're already friends. So just tell me sort of how that all happened. And
Go ahead, Colleen.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in September of 2019, Bridget and I were literally having lunch with a bunch of women who are also over 50. And we were chatting about all the life experiences that we had and all the things that were coming up. And we felt like, this is really a chapter of life that goes unnoticed. We don't feel seen. We don't feel heard. Forget menopause. Like there was nothing out there at the time for menopause. So Bridget and I have a friend who does a podcast on a completely different topic. And we thought, okay, let's check out, maybe there's some information out there. And at the time, there really wasn't. There wasn't a podcast. Now it's very different, obviously, but there really wasn't a podcast. So we started it in September 2019. We called it Hot Flashes and Cool Topics because we didn't want to just be a menopause podcast. Of course, we could talk endlessly about it, but we wanted to be that voice for women in midlife and beyond. Whatever they wanted to talk about, they could let us know, and we would find that person that would either answer their question or make them feel like they weren't going crazy. And Bridget and I started with I graduated with a degree in communications, but that was a lot of years ago. And I was an attorney. Bridget was a teacher. We certainly didn't have a background in media, but we knew that we could learn. And we thank YouTube because it was great.
Yes.
We hit it right around the pandemic when people were saying yes because they were home. And since then, it has exploded. And Bridget and I always say we just kind of put the seatbelt on and ride the ride, see where it's going.
And just, we make mistakes. So we make mistakes. We just go on because it's not that you I'm proud to say you're not unsuccessful or you didn't fail, but you just try something new. So we just keep trying different things. And Colleen, do you remember how when we were talking at that lunch about things that we felt, and since I can say it on this podcast, bullshit, to us, and how we wanted to have a bullshit meter, but
yes,
we never did the bullshit meter.
We never did that, but we wanted to.
Yeah, we wanted to do because we were being fed, and not just in the space of menopause, but just women this age. We just felt like we were being fed things that were bullshit. And I remember that was one aspect we were talking about then, but we just did it and ran with it and learned along the way what we needed to do. And it took us how long to do our trailer? 7 hours?
Oh my gosh, yeah, 7 or 8 hours just to do a trailer. We were like perfectionists,
We are not anymore.
And then we realized, just get it out there. No one expects you to be perfect, especially get it out there.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, what prompted the bullshit meter? Like, what was annoying you at that time?
Colleen, so many things. Yeah, I think
it was the media. It was the lack of attention of our demographic in the media and how they felt like if you're over 50, we don't need to cater to you. We don't need to have products talk to you. We don't need to have commercials addressed to you. And I would say that it was bullshit because I have 2 daughters in their 20s. They were using credit cards at the time to buy the products. I'm the one with the disposable income. Why are you not talking to us? And that's, I think, Bridget, how we got on the whole.
That's what it was. Yes. I was like, I just remember that thinking, yeah, we need that.
That feels like one of the big lies. Like, I think there's so many big lies that you start waking up to when you get in your 40s and 50s. I remember being a waitress and we were always told that the woman decides what wine to order. The woman decides whether to have dessert. The woman decides whether to have appetizers. You always, like, that was part of the service. And so it never jived with me when they would say, we weren't included. We weren't that coveted demographic. Even when they would say, they always ask people, why aren't there more films for women in Hollywood? And the directors say people won't go see them. Yet when there was a film, it would be like a blockbuster. Right. And the other thing, always asking, I thought about this the other day. We grew up listening to actresses being asked in interviews, how does it feel when there's no roles for women over a certain age? Like, those questions, imagine you're being asked that question. I don't even know if that's actually true. But we heard,
and they would never ask a man that. They would never ask a man that.
But we heard this for years. So we just thought, oh my God, it just all fed into like the time's running out, we heard it in so many different ways. And you're right. We have the money. Like, come on, this is crazy.
And we would also ask the question of our listeners and they would be like, oh, what do you want to do for the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life? Because you've got that time now. Longevity is there. Healthy longevity you have to work at. But what do you want to do? This is not over. Your life is not done. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of positives to this stage of life. You get to be a little selfish. And we have been just ingrained in us that you put yourself last. Women go last. And if you try self-care or put yourself first, it's somehow selfish, and it's not. And I think that stigma is lifting a little bit, and women are realizing, wait a second, I have to be a priority too, or I can't help everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see. I lost my train of thought there. I was so engrossed in what you were saying. No, I had an Indian guru, in an actual spiritual yoga guru that I interviewed today. She's in her 70s, and she was saying much the same thing. That's why I got sidetracked, because she was saying you have to take time for yourself. Like, you know, your kids are grown, and I can see my friends that are, I haven't had children, but I can see my friends that they're leaving, and I can see this sense of sadness. And have you guys been through that, where your kids are, yeah, that's huge, right? Like I can just feel
huge. Yeah, it was really particularly hard for me. And, you know, honestly, the lockdown and pandemic actually healed me, because they both came back. And then I could see the changes, and I loved having them back, but I could see the things that I was used to. I'm married, that my husband and I were used to, and it kind of shook it up a little. And I kind of like our, you know, these years and having our own thing, you know, and so it cured me. And I love seeing my children, and I do, but I don't cry as much when they leave. And, you know, actually the last time I didn't cry when I left them. I'm so surprised. I mean, my gosh, they're 30 and 27.
Yeah.
I should be okay. But
No
but yeah,
shoulds, Bridget.
no,
No
that's right.
shoulds.
That's right.
No
That's
shoulds,
right.
yeah.
It's personal. But yeah, but it is hard. It's very hard. And I think it's just a change when you're entering this change, any kind of change that you're doing, whether you're getting ready to retire or you're making a big move somewhere. It is this big change, and it's scary, but it's going to be okay. So maybe learning to embrace it a little bit is important. But yeah.
And I think a lot of women have been defined so long as mom. And maybe they let their career kind of fall to the side, and they have to decide, okay, what do I want to do now? I know what I don't want to do. And that's what we always say when women go, I don't know where to start. Well, you have experience in life. So what don't you want to do? Start there and kind of narrow the focus a little bit. And it doesn't have to be starting a podcast. It doesn't have to be some grandiose plan. If you want to take a class, a dance class, if you want to start, you know, gardening, or if you want to start a podcast, nothing should be off limits to you, because all the experience that you have had in your life brings you wisdom it brings that to the table. You are not inexperienced, because I think a lot of women like, I haven't worked in 20 years. I'm not, you know, viable. You'll get there. You can learn it. If you don't know social media, my kids taught me a lot about social media, you know, you can learn it. You just kind of have to realize that your experience has value. And I think a lot of women forget that they are a valuable member of the community, and they get quiet.
Yes,
and
they do. But the nice thing too about this age is there is something about not caring what other people think, like you did when you were younger. So you're just like, I don't care, you know, and people who make snarky comments or whatever, if they make comments on your social media, you're like, I don't care. You're like, you know, this is my thought, my opinion, or, you know, this is what I found works for me. And I'm like, okay, think what you want. Bye. You know, it doesn't hurt you like it did when you were younger.
Oh
So that's
boy, those
yes.
comments would last for, right? They would just
Oh yeah.
in your brain when you were 30, 32, maybe they'd just go right in, and you would just believe them almost.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah. So that's
I feel really bad for the generations coming up now with social media, because we didn't have that. It wasn't that immediate attack of bullies that have no face and no name, but they are so unhappy with their lives that they have to make someone else. And I feel bad for a lot of the younger generations. I certainly wouldn't want to be there at this stage where people are just like, because like Bridget said, we don't care. Move on, find someone who actually cares about what you're saying. But
Yeah.
I don't think at 20 or 30, like you said, that would have destroyed my self-confidence. And I feel badly for people who are just trying to be out there and exist in a social, and again, I always tell my kids, what you see out in social media is not true. It's not real. It's a picture they want to create.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I wouldn't want to do it.
No, and we've had it just a short enough time. I don't think most of us take it completely seriously, right? Like it's not, but we didn't have to listen to what people might say, like it was only a boogeyman in our head, but now people have to actually see it, and it's crazy. I find that space pretty nice, actually. I wouldn't say, of course, when something negative happens, I remember that. Like
you do remember, you might have 500 great comments, and then there's 2 people that maybe didn't agree, or one, and you're like, did you see what that person said? But then you're just like, really, I don't care, go on.
No, I don't. And I have to give myself, like, I have whatever, 5 hours, 5 days, whatever, 5 weeks. I have to say, like, 5 hours, you're not going to care. I don't know. Do you answer people when they're, because it's like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, if it's really nothing to do with anything, but if it is something to do with something that I feel like was I don't want to give medical advice because I'm not a physician, but I will relay what physicians say to us. Yeah. So if they say something that I feel like is going to be harmful, it's always contact the physician before you do this. Always, or if they cut down someone else, which I don't know if that's happened, Colleen.
No, I think the first time we had someone hate on us on TikTok, I texted you, I was like, we've made it. They hate us. This is great. Like it was completely the opposite of what their intention was. And for those people who just want to hate, we block them. But if someone wants to engage in an actual debate, I'm happy to do so in a respectful way. But if it starts going down a road where they are not listening and they're just trying to convince you of something, then I don't see the point. You know what I mean? Or if it's just hateful comments, then I know that there's something else going on with that person, and there's no point. It's an energy that I think another thing that comes with the wisdom of getting a little bit older is we are particular with where we put our energy. If it's for productive, healthy use, but if it's just getting drained by what I call a vampire sucker, like they just suck the energy right out, not worth it. Block them.
And then there's topics that, because you spoke to the doctor, the name is escaping me, who worked on the Astellas Pharma,
Nanette Santoro.
That, so I wrote a lot about that, and that was surprisingly controversial to me, because to me it's a no-brainer, right? Like, some women can't take hormone therapy, and so a company is providing a drug for those people. Some people don't want to or can't, and so this drug is being developed. That I found surprisingly controversial, because the HRT people really don't like that drug. Like, did you find that?
I didn't find, the responses we got from doctors were quite good, but it was always under the guidelines of, the golden standard is hormone therapy. But for us, it's all about options. Let women decide what's best for them. And, but if you can go in armed with the information, sometimes more than your doctor does, and it's, we've heard from a lot of women who are like, I asked them about this and they were like, I didn't know that. Let me look into it. I'll get back to you.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah. I do feel like, I didn't feel like, I really felt Dr. Santoro was really, giving us all the different options, or telling us about everything that is available. And most doctors do say the gold standard is hormone replacement. But I find that really wild that people have an issue with that. And I know there's people that don't want to take any medications, and that's fine. If that is the way they want, that's great. But I was happy to hear for myself, because I am on hormone replacement, that if I don't want to continue to be on hormone replacement, and if I stop it and I start getting like all these, I was sweating like 5 times an hour. It was horrible.
Oh, wow.
It was really bad. And if I did, I would have that option to have that. And that was one of my questions is like, can I take this? If I quit, can people take this? Because that's another thing that doctors go back and forth on is how long should you be on hormone replacement? Some say forever, some say you can do it forever. Some say 10 years, you know, after you've begun, or some say by the age of 60. So that's a big question that's all over the map that I'm like, I don't know, you know, how long this can last.
Well, yeah. Okay. So I wanted to, because you interview a lot of doctors. I've interviewed and, you know, I've been doing this over a year. There's so much disparity in what they think that it's sort of spooky a little bit. Like it's a little bit spooky to me because you have the guidelines of the bodies, the guiding bodies, but you have all these doctors that have, you can spot the gaps in their knowledge, which freaks me out when I can spot that a doctor, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
How do we know this and you don't know this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, those experiences.
Well, I think, you know, we've interviewed a lot of doctors and we try to go with the NAM certified doctors because we feel like they are the most experienced and the information that we give out, we want to make sure that women know it's based on, you know, it's experimental, it's evidence-based and they can rely on it. And again, some of the doctors haven't heard of that stuff, but we have interviewed a few where we're like, okay, we're going down a road.
Yeah.
Kind of not where we thought. And we've actually interviewed a few that we have not put on air because we just weren't comfortable with that. We just felt as the conversation was going, we just felt like the information wasn't something we wanted to put out there for our listeners.
Yeah. Yeah. I do remember one physician in particular. And I think it was a live interview and other doctors, the use of testosterone. That was one used for libido. And most doctors say they're fine with it. It's not FDA approved for women. They usually give 1/10 of testosterone because we have 1/10 of it in our bodies, 1/10 of what they normally prescribe to males. And one doctor was, no, and it was live. So I couldn't really do anything about it. It was, I think it was when
pivot.
I pivot. I was like, oh, okay, you know, because that has been very helpful for a lot of women. You do have to be careful with it. And then the use of pellets is
that's what I was going to say.
That is
pellets has been a huge controversy.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually have found it less controversial between the doctors and more with the patients. Patients who take them they will die on that sword. They're not giving them up. And no matter how much information the doctors may provide that it could be a dangerous treatment, they don't want to hear it. They feel
well,
good.
I actually had one dose of it, was not given any. I was given like little things, and it was like a clinic. It was not a doctor, you know, it was a physician's assistant that was prescribing it. And I had my first pellet, and then we interviewed Dr. Lisa Larkin. And boy, did she
after.
Oh my goodness. I said, oh my gosh. She said, you're probably okay. You've only had one dose. But she said she had, because I guess the testosterone stays in your body, you can't get that pellet out. So it was estrogen and testosterone. You still, if you took progesterone, you took that in a different form.
Okay.
And she said, oh, I have examined women with vulvas that are like, what did she say? The size of did she say grapefruit or did she say an orange? Grape, the vulva. I'm sorry.
Because if it's a grapefruit, Bridget,
you're in trouble. But I'm sorry, a grape. I knew I heard
time
the
to
word
Google
in
it
there. But when she was saying that, I said, oh my gosh, no one said that to me. And this is a gynecologist that has examined many, many women. And so I said, okay, this is a fact that she's telling me. So I never got any more pellets.
Well, so what was your thinking? I mean, I do find this topic is like, yes, no, like, no, and like, yes. And it's crazy. And then the anger because they say these people are making money and these people, but like, I can understand why it's an attractive option. And I've interviewed women who say it's great because I can't remember to take it. This is a big thing for me with HRT. I don't like to take, I'll forget. So what was your thinking? Like,
I thought it was going to be easy because when I was first, when I first got on HRT, I was going to this place, and because my gynecologist at the time would not prescribe me hormone replacement, would not do it, gave me a Fexer,
right?
yes, and it did nothing. It didn't help. Okay. So I said, okay, this doctor won't listen to me. I should have found another doctor, but I saw that this place gave a hormone replacement. So at first it was bioidentical. So it was a form of estrogen that was a bioidentical one, and a form of progesterone and a testosterone cream. And they said, oh, you could try these pellets. Then you don't have to put the cream on every day. You don't have to worry about taking. So I read the little paper, and it was very, the thing they gave you, it didn't really talk about a vulva being the size of a grape, but it did say, yeah, you could have a little bit more buildup of testosterone, but it was enticing. Like it said, oh, and also people have been known to lose weight on this. Well, then it's like, oh, so I did it. But then after I talked to her, I thought, I'm not doing this. This is insane. I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, I've never heard a physician prescribe them. It's always been one of these clinics in the US that are where I am. I have not heard of a physician giving that as an option personally, or anyone that we've interviewed. Have you heard anyone that we've interviewed?
I think 100% of the doctors said, don't go down that road.
Right.
But there are, the problem now with menopause is it's such a big industry. It's a $600 billion industry that everyone's throwing their hat in the ring with products and quick fixes. And it's a dangerous thing for women, because if you are struggling, like Bridget was saying, she was having 5 to 7 hot flashes an hour. She's going to try anything.
Oh, I would move and I would sweat. I mean, I would like get up to do something. If I sweat the floor, I would sweat. It was terrible.
And now women are just being inundated with almost too much information that they have to. That's why we're always like, talk to the experts. Don't go just listening to a commercial. Don't go listening to, don't even listen to us. Just take the information down and talk to your doctor about it, because we will bring the experts. We don't claim to be experts in anything but our own personal journeys, but we will certainly get doctors that you can rely on for information to then. And if your doctor doesn't know the answers, find another one. Women are so defensive of their doctors that they've been seeing for 20 years. He helped me with this. He delivered my baby. But right now you're at a different stage of life. And it's okay to interview your doctor. And if they don't have the right questions, they don't have the right answers to your questions, find another doctor.
Well, some people put you in a box, right? And your healthcare practitioner can be the same sort of way. Like they've seen you for a long time. And so sometimes you just got to move on, like sometimes you just can't. These relationships weren't meant to last forever, all of them.
Yeah. And it's so funny as a woman, it's this whole thing too, this emotional thing that you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy? That your health is involved, but you're so worried about hurting somebody's feelings. I'm the kind that slink home and call back and cancel my appointment. And then I go to another doctor.
Do you know, I was trying a meal plan delivery service here and I didn't like it. I don't really like meal plan delivery services. And the guy had asked me if I would review it for our website. And I said, sure, but I didn't like it. It took me 3 weeks to message him and say, I can't rave about this. Like, I can't write about it. Yeah. And I dithered back and forth and I was like, I'll just write it. Well, I can't do that. What am I going to say? Ooh, and I'm like, girl, come on, you're 52. Like phone up to message him and say, I'm sure for other people it's good, but for me, it was not. He took it well.
Yeah. And that's so funny. Oh, I know.
I was just thinking, well, he's trying so hard in his business. Also, like, I'm going to be the one that's just going to puncture his self-esteem and he's going to call it quits because I didn't like his meal delivery. But I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Back to testosterone. I did interview a doctor. And she's in Arizona and she worked on that original, this is coming up on my podcast. She worked on the original, testosterone patch that didn't pass the Intrinsa patch. Okay. So that doctor does use pellets. That doctor is what I would call very bullish on testosterone. Very, very, very Like I got off the interview thinking I need some testosterone right now to stay upright, like I need, so I have to go back and listen to it. But I'm interested, like someone I interviewed early on was this nurse practitioner who is also in Nashville, actually, Brooke Fott. And she uses, she's great. And she uses testosterone. She presented at North American Menopause Society in 2020, I think, about this. She puts it right on your vagina. Like you put it right on. And she talks about that a lot. But then this doctor was like, no, I wouldn't do that. So, you end up leaving going, right? Like you end up.
So was it the pellet that this doctor said? Did she have reasoning why she wouldn't put it right on the perineum area or the vagina area?
She just said she wouldn't. She just did. Again, like this is the thing when you interview doctors, like you just see them, no real reason, right? Like it's just not what they do. And that's just shows you how vast, here's a doctor in Nashville doing this and another doctor in Arizona who's like, no, I wouldn't do that. And then I don't even know sometimes that there's a reason. It's just that they don't do it. Sort of like the things.
Yeah. I remember one time, I think we were getting ready to do a podcast, Colleen, and I got a call from that clinic because the thing with the testosterone gel, you can't put it on, like you can't shower for like an hour or 2 hours, and you can't exercise. So the first thing I would do was go exercise, and then I would get back and shower, and then I would put it on. Well, one time it was like, I don't know, 10:30 or 11 before I even put it on. And then I had an appointment where they did my blood work. And they called, Colleen was at my house, and they're like, are you growing facial hair? Is your voice deepening? Are you, and I was like, no. And because I just put it on, my blood levels, it was like through the roof. So that's hard to measure. Right. That's another thing with blood tests, everyone doing is it FH? What is it?
Everyone's LH and FSH. Everyone's obsessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some doctors say don't bother taking the blood because at different times of the month, your levels are going to be different. So it's just, I think because it's becoming such a hot topic, pun intended, it's becoming such a hot topic that there isn't a consensus right now. Everybody's kind of going with what they know and what they're reading without really having a consensus idea of, well, what's the best approach? And every woman is different. So what may work for Bridget wouldn't have worked for me or you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we really have to do our homework. We are intelligent women. We know our bodies better than anybody else. So if something doesn't sound right to you, it probably isn't right for you.
Yeah. The thing with the testing, I find, like, it's so frustrating that women can't get the answer of what exactly is happening. So I see women, they're very happy, and I'm grossly generalizing, but it seems like people are very happy when I tested my estrogen was on the floor. I tested and my progesterone, that's a human sort of certainty that we like to have. Right. And then I can tell people that that's what happened. But whenever I've had things tested, I think at 47 and just recently, the doctor said, I don't know, you seem postmenopausal, but also perimenopause. Like you're, thanks.
You're just
so different than when I was 47. It's like the interminable perimenopause I'm going through. But, I know I think people are just trying to where am I? What's happening? And as
they want answers.
Perimenopause is just sort of like, it's a long time maybe. And it starts.
And for every woman, like you said, it starts different time. And your life stages, like I can say that I was one of the oldest women I know to go through menopause. I'm 55 and I just went through it in November, my 12 months.
Okay.
But I started peri probably around 44, 45. Okay. And at the time, my father was on hospice. My daughter was going through an eating disorder. I thought, I'm ready to murder somebody because my life is stressful. I didn't realize that the sleeplessness and the weight gain and the anxiety, if not were caused by, but were exacerbated by perimenopause. And I didn't even know. I mean, Bridget will say she didn't even know perimenopause
I didn't know what it was when I was in it. I
Me
didn't know what
neither.
it was. Yeah. I'd
5
heard
or
of
6
menopause.
years.
Yeah. Didn't know
So
what
it's
peri was.
I think, we're the sandwich generation. We're taking care of our parents. We're taking care of our kids. We're working. We're now in the boardroom. We're CEOs. We're in management. How many women are leaving the workforce because of menopause, which is just
Yeah.
disheartening. But we don't attribute it to menopause because nobody talks about it. I mean, they do now, but that's only in the last 3 years.
Yeah. So I feel like there's a certain amount of denial associated with it. And I even say that because I have a young friend who's been involved in Hotflash Inc. since I did it in 2020, who's 41 and who's just now, her sleep isn't good and she's having period problems and she started taking progesterone, but it took a long time for her. And now she's like, and this perimenopause. I'm like, I've been talking about it for a long time. But I went to loads of doctors between 42, 47, loads. Like I was in the ER because I thought I was having a heart attack. I had terrible headaches and had like an MRI. I was in the hospital for that a couple times for those headaches. Like no one ever said, after that cardio incident, huge cardio workup, no one ever said it. No one ever said a word. Even I finally went to a naturopathic doctor and she said I had adrenal fatigue. She helped me. She never said anything. I was 40, 42, 43. Like it seems like a no-brainer, but I also feel like I was in denial.
There is something with the word. It's something with the word menopause. It's you're afraid you're going to catch it, like it's a disease or something. And you're going to go, I always say, if you're lucky enough to live long enough, you're going to go through it. And, in the media, it didn't talk about it. We were doing research one time. It was like All in the Family talked about it once. Maude talked about it. The Golden Girls, who were our age at the time, but it was never talked about there are a lot of positives to menopause. Who wants their period anymore? I don't want my period anymore. Take it, keep it. There should be a switch done by, I don't have to worry about bringing tampons or pads on vacation. I don't have to worry about my mood. I suffered from really bad hormonal migraines like you do.
Okay.
I have not had one in a year. I've had headaches. I've had light migraines.
Freedom.
I've not had one of those hormonal migraines in a year, and I don't miss them at all. And my daughter has them, and I'll say to her, you know what I don't miss? Those hormonal migraines. And she just gives me that dagger stare, like I've got like 30 years, Mom, with this.
Yeah.
But it's all the way we talk about it. What we put out into the conversations that we put out in the universe. And I think, you're going to be living another, hopefully 30, 40 years without your periods. It's going to be great. There are positives to it.
It was just always, and my friend that's younger than me, I swear, I'm like, again? She's like, I had my period. I'm like, again?
Yeah.
I haven't had my period now for 6 months, but it's been slowly going. And it just seems like that is a lot. That's very frequent.
Yeah. Well, and that was a whole nother symptom, the heavy periods and the more frequency when you're in peri. I didn't know what was happening. I really thought that, okay, something's really wrong. And I have 9 sisters and they didn't tell me. I do remember my older sister, my oldest one, when she went through menopause, and she was 17 when I was born. So she's quite a bit older than me. And I remember thinking, look at her turning that air on. My gosh, she's just doing this for attention. I remember getting very aggravated with her. And now I'm like, oh, I'm getting it worse. That's what I get for doing that to her.
Karma.
But none of them, it was karma. And none of them ever said, oh, my period is so heavy, is so this and that. And I just remember, like, I was on a field trip with students when I was a teacher and thinking, okay, I am going right through this bus seat. And it was horrible. And I'm a teacher. At least I've got other teachers, mostly female, with me. And, what about these women that are in boardrooms and with a lot of different males around, and maybe the understanding isn't there from their coworkers, like perhaps it was with me, because they were all ages, the teachers I had. But it does lead, and I do feel like maybe that was a part of why I left teaching. Part of it was family, like my mother was really old and was in her last year of life. But I think maybe I would have stayed if I maybe wasn't going through this, that I just had it from everything. So I do hear a lot of women that leave the workforce during this time. And
I'm lucky. I'm a freelancer. I mean, I'm having a hard time right now because I'm having some health issues. So my energy is all over the place, and I'm so lucky. I think this all the time. Like this morning, I thought, I had to be here at noon to interview someone, but I was like, if you had to be and run that department that I did like 5 years ago, I don't really know. I do get it. And then I don't know about for you, like the brain lapses that you can have that are really
yes.
scary. Like my
It's
friend's a teacher
frightening.
and it's frightening. And then you really like, you feel exposed, really exposed. And so I imagine if you were in the boardroom or you were running something or you were, I don't know, I can see people leaving. But I also think maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Like maybe you were supposed to do something different. Maybe like this is your catalyst out of the, like, I don't know. Do you ever think that? Like, do you miss the field? Is it a mistake?
I really don't miss. I'll tell Colleen, oh, I had a nightmare that I agreed to teach again. and then I
do not miss the law at all. So
Yeah.
that's not even.
And I'm thinking, I think what I did miss initially was my fellow teachers. And actually, I liked the students a lot. I just didn't like the other part. But I think that things were I can't even say
exacerbated.
Exacerbated by other pressures coming in. And I think it was. And then I just thought I'd had it. I didn't want to listen anymore. And other things like my mother being ill, my kids getting ready to leave for college.
Too much.
Yeah, it was too much. And I feel I talked my husband, he's getting ready to retire. So happy. But and he's younger to retire, but I speak with him about women that maybe have high powered jobs where he works. And, sometimes he'll come home saying something. And I'm like, no. I said, would you say that if that was a man doing that? And he's pretty good too. I hate to I'm not trying to diss.
No, he's wonderful.
He's wonderful. But I do give him these reminders like, hey, did you have to deal with this at work? Did you ever soak through your skirt? Well, your skirt.
Yeah. Or you didn't sleep.
Has John ever soaked through his skirt?
But yeah, just things like that. Like, hey, these are just little extra things you have to deal with. So let's think about that.
And if you didn't sleep, and if you have anxiety, I had terrible anxiety through my 40s when I was running a newspaper department. It was absolutely awful. And there was one woman that she was like my nemesis. Oh. And she's just one of those people who knew when you were off. And I struggled with her. And I think sometimes like, what was that about now? I think what was that about? But she just knew that I was off kilter, and that whoever was around me that year heard way too much about that woman because and I apologize to everyone. Oh my God, are we talking about this again? It's like, you know what she did? Yeah. That's an interesting time.
We have found that since starting the podcast, 95% of the women that we work alongside with in this genre are great. Everybody just wants to lift each other up. The competition that you kind of felt in your 20s and 30s, there's always one or two that you're like, okay, and you can kind of feel them coming. Yeah. But for the most part, Bridget and I we love working with everybody because everyone wants to lift each other up, and it's not hokey. It really is. I think that competition kind of weans in your 50s. There's a place for everybody. Everyone has a voice.
It really is. It really is. I found out all those people when I put a post about Gwyneth Paltrow, and I found them all out, and they don't bother me anymore. They were really bothered that I wrote something about Gwyneth Paltrow that was nice. And then I was like, whew. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh yeah, all those people that were so mad about Gwyneth Paltrow, I probably would have had individual problems with them over the last 2 years, but I've gotten out of it.
Yeah.
So when you started the podcast, like, I've done a lot of new things in the last 5 years, and I find there's a trajectory, like it's terribly hard. And you guys started the podcast when there wasn't, like, there's so much technology now to start a podcast, even a few years later, right? So it was a much more difficult thing that you did. Like, I know just to start from no podcast, even having a friend who's in it to get all the pieces. What do you feel like for women who want to do something like this? What sort of like defeated feelings do you feel, or silly, or like, the hard parts of it? Do you remember?
I think I come from a place of, I have a very, very, very strong work ethic. So I can't do anything 10%. So even though I'm like, oh, this is my third career, I put my heart and soul, and Bridget does too, but like, I go 0 to 100. There's nothing
She
in
does.
between.
I can
And
vouch.
Bridget
She
works
does.
really well with that because I'll be like, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing, and she's like, okay. But she's kind of the calm voice, like, go take a break. It's okay. You don't have to. But I have such a passion for what we do. And so does Bridget. And we thought, oh, are we going to run out of topics to talk about? Like, there's never an end. When one opens, another opens. And I think for women who are afraid to start something new, you really underestimate the experience you have in life. Even if you were like Bridget, okay, she was a teacher. She knows how to be organized. She knows how to, kind of control a situation. Like, there are things you take from every job experience that you have, or life experience for that matter, into the next step. So, who cares if it doesn't work? Like, we don't care. Like, just move. If it's either a life experience or it's a success, either way, you learned something.
Yeah.
And
get it out there, right? Because if you wait for it to be, I'm journalism, my daily journalism, I just had to do it. Like, it absolutely had to let it go. But if you try to make it perfect, you'll never
do it if you try to make it
presence
perfect.
over perfection. That's what we heard one time. Presence over perfection. It really kind of.
And I think it's so much more authentic when you just are putting it out there and it's not perfect or you're doing your best. But I will say Colleen has such a great work ethic. And I think that having somebody like that as your co-host and your partner and your coworker, it just helps that much more. It gives you that confidence. When she has that confidence and does the 100%, that boosts your confidence. It just kind of works together. And that she is so good at, she's like, I'm sorry if you think I'm a control freak. And I don't, because I'm like, I love that you come out with these ideas. I'm like, if it doesn't bother you that you are coming out with these great ideas, and then I'm kind of like that. Oh, I like what that says. I'm kind of like this. I'm like, look what I saw this. Look at this pretty thing. Look what I read in People magazine. And then I'll say, I found this book in People magazine, Colleen. We're gonna, contact this author or whatever. And so it just we just got lucky that we just work really well together. But it's an understanding. I think we both have this kind of just like, we know what each other is, which one's good at whatever. We work together.
We balance each other out.
Balance. And that's been really great that we found that we just happen to live near each other and moved to this neighborhood at the same point in our lives where we were going through the same things. And, with just starting it, like, just do it. Don't worry about being perfect. And you'll be passionate about it. So if this is something that has bothered you, I just went through this. I don't want other women to suffer. And I want them to know there's options out there.
Yeah. You guys are very kind. Like, you're funny, but you're very kind. I just have that feeling, like, is warmth that comes through. Okay. I love how you interview celebrities. I used to interview, like, you interview these celebrities, and I just love, because I see it on social media. I'm like, Mary Lou Henner, what, how did you, when did you start doing these? Fran Drescher, like, whoa, it's so cool.
Bridget's funny because, like, I think I just don't take no for an answer. I'm not good at that. And Bridget would be like, no, seriously, I can't do this. And like, I'm not ready for, I could just wing it. And if you get confused, look over to me and I'll wing it too. What's the worst going to happen? You edit out whatever doesn't work. But we were lucky. We kind of, Patricia Heaton, I think, was our first one. Or actually,
it was Mindy.
Was Mindy Cohn.
Yeah.
I actually had gotten somebody off of Twitter, I think. And
was that Mindy?
It might have been Mindy, or it might have been Carney Wilson.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, sure. Because I'll keep asking until they say yes, or they get a restraining order, one or the other. And then, so once you get one or two people, they want to talk about midlife. It's not just menopause. They want to talk about their careers. They want to talk about what they're doing now. So we kind of started this catching up series where we're catching up with, like, we have so much more in common than we realize. And like with Patricia Heaton, we were, it was one of our first interviews. We want to make sure we're really careful with your time. And we were like, thank you so much for coming on. She goes, we haven't even talked about Botox yet. Like, we have a lot to talk about, ladies.
She stayed on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We just were like, let's
like
listen.
Joe Rogan.
I mean, it was. We made it to at least 2 episodes, maybe.
And
I
it
don't
was
remember.
great, but they're all, for the most part, They're all very gracious and they really like talking about the stage of life. Like they're living their best lives and they want women to know that. I mean, just look at the Academy Awards coming this week. Like all the women that are nominated are like 40, 50 plus. Bravo. We are in love with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like I've been posting about her.
She's awesome.
She's my idol
She's
right
Colleen's
now.
soulmate right now. The
I
whole thing about
swear.
her going to bed early, because Colleen, I know 10 o'clock, do not keep Colleen out past 10
Nope.
because she's
Okay.
going to bed. Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
And it's just, it's okay to set boundaries at this stage of life. If you don't like them, that's okay. You don't have to, but for me, they work. You know
So
what I
she's
mean?
a dream guest, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
She knows
Do
it.
it.
I'm
See,
gonna.
I think they're just like us, right? Like they want to talk about it. I
Yeah.
have seen so many interviews. Like when I started looking in this space, I would see so many interviews where the celebrity brought it up. Like Naomi Watts. Yeah, when there was an article in Women's Health, a cover story on her, and she mentioned hormone changes. And of course, the writer is probably 25 and didn't follow up. And Sharon Stone brought up her menopause to a New Yorker writer, and he never followed up. And I feel like they're like kind of we are, and then either the people are like, because if you're 25, that's not what you want to talk about. But I feel like they want to talk. Of course, they're just like us, like
Right.
except
Yeah.
famous and wealthy.
And rich, yeah.
It's so funny. At first, I was like extremely nervous. Then you start talking to them, and it's just
Yeah.
like you're just having this normal conversation about what's going on in your life. So it's great. I love the catching up series.
Yeah, we have fun. And
we
we
have fun.
always, our intent in the very beginning of the podcast was for women to feel like they were sitting at a kitchen table with us, either drinking a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and just sharing conversation and community. And we've been very lucky that that's kind of the response we get from everybody. Like, I wish you did this live so I could ask questions or do stuff like
Right.
that. And it makes you feel good when someone said, I asked my doctor about this because you guys brought it up. And it's helping me. Like there's no better feeling than feeling
Right.
like you helped somebody
Yeah.
when they're struggling, because it's struggling unnecessarily. And if men were struggling this way, and I love men, I'm married to a man, I have a son-in-law, love men, but there would have been an answer already. There would have been a solution, and it's just a shame that with women's healthcare, and Bridget talks a lot about this, that testing done was mostly on men up until
Up
like
until
the
the
90s.
90s. Yeah.
Crazy.
I was floored by that. I could not believe that. It was so, it was insane.
I think people think, yeah, I'd like to delve into this more, but you have to be gentle about it because people really believe in clinical studies and science and trials. And they really believe that that's been taken care of. And I'm a lot more skeptical about what's gone on, like I'm a lot more like, I don't know. I'm not sure science is everything that we, the bedrock that we think it is. And it's definitely changing.
It's the Women's Health Initiative scared everybody to death. And then, just things, you can become distrustful, especially, not only by that, but FDA allowing opioids, you see what happened there. And so it makes people skeptical. Really does.
Yeah, but then, so I can tend to be like pretty skeptical. So I'm like the FDA, and I know Astellas Pharma bought this special certificate that could expedite their approval of fezolinetant. So that's why they were saying in their press releases, we're expecting an answer on February 22nd, because they applied on August 22nd and they paid a lot of money for this special priority review certificate. And that's actually designed for, the original design of it was for rare and infectious diseases that no one really studies, as I understand it. And then, so I'm like, well, it's going to be approved because they've basically, paid all this money for it. And then it didn't. And then the FDA said, no, we need 3 more months. So, I don't know what I'm talking.
Then maybe
and as jaded as you want. It's like the FDA is doing its due diligence over there on that.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr.
So I don't know what I'm
Santoro-
talking about.
Yeah.
Dr. Santoro was pretty specific when she's like, we are not mind readers. I have
Yeah,
no
we do
idea
not
when this
know.
decision is coming.
Yeah.
And now you have Bayer also with a non-hormonal treatment that's in phase 3 trials. So it's like a test to who's going to get it first, Bayer or Astellas. And either way, like it's for the women. It's not, they're going to make money and it's pharmaceuticals, big pharma. But if it helps us, then let's get it under insurance and let's get it out to the women who are struggling. Like that's really the ultimate.
Yeah, exactly. We just need stuff. So you've interviewed so many people. What would be like your dream research or an area that you would like people to look into when it comes to options?
I think for me, it would be the mental health aspect. I struggled a lot with anxiety, but I've always had it. And I think that women think they're going crazy. Women really believe that their mood swings or their tempers or their, I never had the rage, but a lot of women do, that it's just a part of who they are now. And it's not.
Yes.
And the doctors will talk to you about your hot flashes, your night sweats, your weight gain, the brain fog. No, that'll probably be my second on my list because I thought I was getting early onset Alzheimer's. I still can't think. My daughter's like, Mom, you just talked to that person. I can't remember their name. Don't know.
Right.
Remember. And so I think for me, it'd be mental health. What about you, Bridget?
Well, I think sexual health is a really important thing. And I think mental health's extremely important. But another aspect is sexual health, because I think a lot of women, not just to have sex, but also UTIs, things like that are happening. Maybe women that aren't having sex anymore are still suffering with other conditions that they are embarrassed to talk to a physician about, that they don't know the options that are out there for them. So this just being in this space that Colleen and I have done in the past 3 years, I've learned so much in that area. Like I just thought, well, I guess that's just a part of life. Dry vaginas are part of life. And then when we're finding out the options that are out there, things that are out there, I didn't know that the skin becomes brittle in that area and that could lead to UTIs. So I have learned a lot about this whole area physically and, everything, but it is amazing. So I wish women knew that these options are out there, that you don't have to have pain, whether it's with sex or just physically pain, that there are options out there for you.
Well, if your vagina is not okay, I mean, our whole lives it's been like this. If you had a yeast infection, if it's not okay, nothing's okay. It's all you can think about. Like, it's not like you can just put it, close the door and just ignore it.
Or put a Band-Aid. It's not like a cut.
It's impossible. Yeah. It has nothing to do with anything other than just like sitting here. You want your whole body to feel actually like semi-normal.
Right.
Yeah. It's very, very important for our functioning.
Yeah.
Okay. So gosh, I could talk to you guys all day. I'll start wrapping it up. I don't want to do a Joe Rogan on you, Joe Rogan.
I have to take our stuff to the tax person at 11. So,
okay. So I'm going to wrap up. I guess, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What are your dreams for this? Or do you want to keep doing the podcast?
We definitely want to keep doing the podcast. We love it. It's become a passion project for us. Every week we learned so much. We are actually starting some events for women over 50, and they're going to be called Hot Flashes and Cool Topics, Conversations with Prime Women. And our first event's going to be in October in Nashville. So if you want to come back to Nashville, come on.
Yes.
And we're not just going to be talking about menopause. Yes, we will be talking about menopause and all of its gifts that keep on giving, but we're also going to be talking with boss ladies and prime women. We have some celebrities coming. We're going to be talking about longevity because people want to know how to live a healthy, longer life. And we're going to be talking about emotional emotional wellness, physical wellness, and community, getting together to just enjoy. Women feel so isolated. A lot of women we hear from feel really isolated and they don't know how to kind of build a community. And that's what we want to do. We want to get the word out that 50 plus is an amazing time of life.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really nice too, because a lot of women say need to make new friends or they want to make friends. And it's hard at this time of life to make friends, right? There's not really like a Tinder for friends over 50. And so you go to these events and find like-minded people. It's just super. It's great.
And we want to kind of support local businesses in those areas, especially women over 50 businesses.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love every time I see you. It's wonderful to see you on TikTok too.
Well, it's great to see you. It was so nice.
Thank you so much.
That was a good thing about social media, that we got to meet you and we got to hear and listen to you. And I think that's good for women as well. And somebody must be calling Colleen. It might be her cat. Her cat's not calling her, but her cat's really
now
sick.
I have to come to
It's an
Nashville and
amazing
see
cat.
his cat.
But her cat has been really it's 19 years old. And so I don't know what's going on with that. Ooh, I hope she's okay. But anyway, but no, the social media aspect has been great, because then we meet friends. For us, we meet people and then we keep in touch with them. So, across the world, so that is really cool. Well,
okay. Well, let me know if you want to do an Instagram live or anything.
Okay.
And anytime, anything. I'll make a clip and share it with you on a collaboration.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, she says, hold on a minute if you can. If you can.
I just had this vision of a cat, like literally calling her with a cell phone.
I know when I said it's her cat.
I'm a crazy cat. I love cats.
I have a cat. I had to close the store so she didn't come in. Yes.
Yeah, because is it okay?
Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, can't hear you.
Because I muted myself. That would be I apologize for that. I've been waiting for the doctor to call me back. His blood pressure is still a little high.
It's the
19-year-old cat.
I was telling her. I said it's her cat, and all she could picture was Morris calling you.
Like a cat.
Morris is calling. No, I have a 19-year-old cat that runs my life, and his blood pressure spiked from a kidney disease, and he's now blind. Yes. Oh. So he went yesterday to get his blood pressure checked, still a little elevated. So they're letting me know. So I was waiting for that call. I apologize.
That's that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
Okay.
This was so much fun. And we definitely want to get you on our show. We're kind of booked out for the next couple months.
Fine. Anytime.
But absolutely. We would love to have you on and talk about continue the conversation.
That's right.
I recorded a lot because I'm good. Then I'm going to focus on something else. So I'll let you know when it's going to run.
Oh, that's fine.
Sure when and we'll be
happy to share it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a good rest of the day.
Bye.